Welcome back, everyone, to our continuing our series with leaders that you might see at the Treasure Cup or the ways to play them, so you can be as competitive as you can on the Treasure Cup. We have Crocodile today. Now, this leader, I don't expect it to be like at the top tables. I don't expect him to win the event per se, but a really skillful player could definitely take it to a top 8, top 16, or top 32. Where if this is your favorite leader, you don't have to always go to win an event. If you're going just to have fun or just to enjoy or see where you compare to other people, like in skill level, and this is the leader that you've been having the most success with, or with or how you've been playing the game that you enjoy the game with, you can definitely bring it out and you can definitely have some success. So the first list that I'm gonna bring today, it's gonna be some it's a deck where it's relying on Centomaro basically as our main engine of the deck. This is the card that you search for early on. If you don't have it in the opening hand, you try to dig for it, because this is the most important card of the whole deck, as it allows you to have some free value with playing Pasifistas out of the deck and trying to just outvalue your opponent a little bit, while also getting some big threats into the board that eventually you're gonna be able to out-tempo your opponent with. So what I mean with that is, well, for example, you have also whatever excess Pacifistas that you draw, you can also play them from your hand by also playing the Kuma as a blocker, block something and play another threat back. And the main idea of the deck is to develop a board where you have maybe Don Flamingo, you have your Crocodiles, you have your Pacifistas, and you're able to at some point swing them everything into the opponent, bounce back whatever they play. Basically, they don't have a board, and you're able to attack twice with like this value 6k cards, which are hard to kill, and also with the Centomaro, which at some point is gonna demand some action or some removal out of the opponent. And if they don't get to remove this one, you're gonna get so much value out of your Pacifistas. They're gonna be in a good spot to win like your matchup, right? What is the problem with this deck? This leader, this version of the deck is gonna have a bit of trouble against green, since you don't have so many bit sticks to beat the A drop with. You only have 6Ks, but you still have a decent chance beating it. Because you do get to at least bounce back a blocker, so you get to attach 4 energy into whatever attacker you have, either be a Pacifista, a Centomaro, or whatever you have, a Kuma, whatever you have as an attacker, and then be able to bounce back the other blocker, and then eventually be able to attack with something else to kill the A drop. So that's the advantage of playing this leader over something like Don Flamingo. Since the Don Flamingo has an extremely tough time trying to get rid of an A drop. This leader has a better chance of beating a green crocodile. I mean, a green A drop kit, right? Because you are able to have whatever card that you have. You're able to attach X amount of energy, attack for it. Usually they only have 2 blockers to defend their A drop with, and if you attack it and you're able to bounce back the other blocker and attack it with something else, you're able to attempt to kill the A drop much easier, and you're gonna have a much better time against all the green decks that they're gonna show up for Treasure Cup. So if that's also another reason why you don't want to play Don Flamingo, but you still want to play a blue deck, this is another option as to why you should play Crocodile instead of Don Flamingo, since it's gonna have a better time against green decks. Now, mind you, it's not gonna just win because you're playing the bounce blockers or these cards that just gonna be able to have a better time against the A drop. You're still in favor in that matchup. You still have to kill the A drop, which is not easy, and it's still gonna take 1 or 2, 3 turns probably to kill the A drop. And if they can kill you before that, that's the risk that you're running against that deck. However, to prevent that from happening, you do get to play cards like Missile Sunday, which is nice to play Crocodile. It's one of the reasons to play Crocodile, because you get to buy back your Love Beams, your Spadas, and you still have a blocker that just offers so much value. That still has combo power too. So this is one of the reasons definitely to play this leader. You play your Gecko Morias to buy back blockers, to add you some resources back, and you are trying to play Mihawks to just cycle these cards that don't have combo power in case you get too many in your hand. And so this is the basic idea of the first list that I'm showing today. It's a really powerful idea to play the deck, but I like the next one coming up a little bit more. Let's go into the next one. All right, everyone. And for our second list that we have a more big threats oriented kind of deck. So what I'm trying to do here is try to control the tempo of the game. And what that means is that you're trying to prevent the opponent from having a board, and you yourself develop a board. So eventually, after everything is done and said, you have a bigger board where you're going to be able to swing twice and be able to kill the opponent faster than they are going to be able to recover. So how do you do that? So on turn 2, if you're going first, you develop something on turn 3, possibly your blocker to set up everything so you can actually have the curve. And then on turn 5 energy, you get to play your Virgo. On 7 energy, you get to play your Flamingo. And on 9 energy, you get to play your Mihawk. And on the same turn that you play the Mihawk, you get to use the leader as well to just completely destroy their board. They're not going to have a board at that point, and you're going to have 3 bit sticks that you're going to be able to pressure the opponent over the span of 2 or 3 turns. So this one is going to have an even better time against green decks, because again, if your turn 2 and your turn 2 is a Virgo, if your turn 3 is a Flamingo, they don't have a board at this point, and your turn 3 is a Mihawk, they're still not going to have a board, and you already remove a bunch of blockers or whatever they have. And then the next turn you're going to be able to, or you can save the bounce back for when they play the A drop, and then you have the blockers. You can attack for this one for 10 or for 11. They have to block 1. Then you bounce back the other blocker, and then you have 2 cards left to kill the A drop, which is much easier than any other blue deck that can do it. So that's the reason to play this kind of list over the other one, right? You still play your Boa Hancock for your late game blocker plus card advantage. You still play this engine because it's really good with the leader. You played your Missed All Sundays, again, because this is the same reason. And also, you play the Teach because going second, you can still do the same thing where you go Teach on 4, Virgo on 5, on 6 energy, Flamingo on 7 energy, on 8 energy, and Mihawk on 10 energy. And if it's a curve still, and you're still gonna remove the opponent's board completely, and you're gonna have your own board yourself, right? The main thing to consider when you're playing this leader or this version of the leader is that you have to be a bit more zealous about the life that you take. You want to be a bit more aggressive defending your life, not so much that it becomes not feasible to defend. Like if you're losing too many cards to defend your leader, just might as well take the life. But by the time you're finished with this curve where you go Virgo into Flamingo into Mihawk, you should be at 2 life, possibly 3 if you were able to defend good enough, and you still need to have cards in hand at that point, like 2 or 3, at least 4 cards to defend your A drops. Because yeah, you can play all of these cards and have a high life total, but if you cannot defend them on the following turns, you're gonna lose them super easily. So you do also need cards to be able to defend them, and that's when they after you play all these 3 cards, that's where the blockers come in, where you're able to play them and generate some value out of them, right? That's why I'm playing the Boa Hancock, and that's what I'm playing the Missed All Sunday. Since you're not gonna have a big hand size after playing all these 3 cards and defending your leader. So these cards are going to be able to draw you cards, Missed All Sunday and Boa Hancock, and the Love Beam, and get Komoria buying back blockers too, or you can buy back Boa Hancock too. So the idea is after you have these 3 Mystics, you're able to just defend your life efficiently and try to survive that way. And again, every other turn you should be using your Crocodile's Leader effect to just keep the opponent out of the tempo, keep the opponent out of the board, and just try to swing everything into the leader and trying to force them out of the game, right? But that's what I mean with tempo. You have to follow this curve, and that's the weakness of playing this second list, right? If you don't have your Virgo, if you don't have your Flamingos or your Mihawks early on, then by the time you draw them, it's too late for them. And they're cards that you cannot combo with, so they're going to be even worse. So that's why I like to play the Flamingo on 3, because it sets up the whole turn you're gonna be able to draw the cards on sequence, so as to get to have your curve as you planned the deck to do so. And that's why I play a little bit more Spadas. You could even up this one up a little bit more in case you don't see your Flamingo. You get to see your Spadas and try to find the curve that way, right? On turn 2, you get to block, fill up the curve, find the cards that you're missing. It's only 3 cards, but at least you get to look at something, and you're already setting up the cards for Missile Sunday, right? The main thing that and yeah, that's the whole idea of playing this leader this way. I like it more. It offers more like a resiliency. If you find your curve, you're gonna be favored in that matchup. Actually, you gotta be careful when you play against purple, because if you do have this curve and they 10 drop you, then rebuilding is gonna be extremely hard. So you do have to play around the 10 drop a little bit. Maybe don't play your Mihawk, just play a blocker after you play these 2. They already have to 10 drop this board. So then after they 10 drop, maybe you drop your Mihawk and you blow for blow like their big plays, right? And that's the idea of, like, you do have to play around these kind of effects when you're playing against these leaders. You can just board wipe you. But if you're playing against green, you're gonna just try to find this curve, and you're trying to keep the opponent out of the board, and you're trying to just be aggressive as much as possible. And this leader as a whole is gonna have a harder time against red decks than Don Flamingo. That's another thing to consider if you're bringing it to Treasure Cup. If you are having trouble with Flamingo even, and you don't want to play, like, you don't want to have a weak deck against red decks, you maybe don't want to even bring a blue deck to the tournament, because this one is even weaker against red decks, because the only way, I mean, if you are able to play your Flamingos, but they have Rush, all the cards that they play have Rush, so it become hard. But this is the most important card against the red decks, your Flamingo, and you don't want to draw too many Draco Mihawks, because they're gonna be useless in the red matchups. Like, unless you are able to defend your life super high, by the time you get to this point where you can play this card and bounce back something to the hand, and still be able to maybe out tempo them. But it's a pipe dream where if you draw too many of this one against red, you are likely to lose that game, because you can only play a top once, and even then you might not be able to play the one. So in those matchups, getting the Spadas and getting the Mihawks out is very important, so you can cycle these cards out of your hand. Your Flamingo still gives you a good value out of this leader playing against red. If you play this one on 10, you bounce back 2 cards with the leader, and you're still able to keep some defense, play some blockers, or maybe play something else. And that's where Teach is really good against red matchups, because he gets to, again, tempo the opponent out of the game, try to buy enough time where you can play your big cards and win the game that way. But that's the deck profile for today. Thank you for watching, and consider subscribing. Thank you.